Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. It is the day before the eclipse, and things are different today. I'm going to talk about that. Um, I don't know. It almost feels like it's a crossroads. She's giving me some new things, and it's not all like doom and gloom. Kind of depends on which way you're leaning. She's kind of also given me some insights about the collective consciousness in terms of, events such as these. And then she wanted me to remind people of something. Well, not remind, because most of you that are new probably not heard this before. I'm not even sure that I've ever talked about it on YouTube. I've only talked about it within the group, but this could possibly be the one thing, especially if you're a woman, that is holding you back from a bigger connection to the Divine Mother, and it's an easy fix. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
Let them say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build this dream together. Standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And if this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
You have to let it all go, Neo. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Free your mind.
So last night and this morning, she was showing me a bunch of stuff insofar as the collective programming and the story of the world, which is more like the dark side stuff. But as soon as I got outside, it was like the sky was blue, the sun was shining, she was there, and then my kids went home this morning, and immediately we just cleaned up the place, and she put on her original playlist and just started pouring energy in here, and everything felt different. It did not feel like impending doom. It was much more hopeful. It was much more bright. It was a significant shift. It was a very significant shift. And some of the stuff that that was kind of popping into my head was, we talked about this back in the previous eclipse, not the previous great eclipse, but the previous eclipse in this cycle, which was the Ring of Fire back in October. And it has to do with the collective consciousness and something that she showed me in the method that we do in one-on-one sessions when we introduce people to Sophia. So think of it this way. One of Sophia's symbols is the flower of life. She is life. Nakamani makes that very, very clear. And as I explain it to people, especially when we're doing energy work, like say, take somebody that, studies Reiki, for instance. But the idea is like you're transmitting at a distance. And it's like, yeah, but we're not doing radio signals. This is the way she taught me. We are all part of her. I don't have Sophia in me, and you have Sophia in you, and you have Sophia in you. We are in her. Each one of these circles is an individual within the whole circle. Everything is connected through her web of life. So the way that she taught me to do energy work when we're doing work with people is when we get on the phone, so we're linking up like the quantum window, and then usually it's like a golden flame or something like that in the dark, and we're both picturing it at the same time. And then, when two or more are gathered in my name, I am with them. And then, so if I'm this circle and you're this circle, we connect through her. And then it's instantaneous. There's no transmitting over distance. Like that's going this way. We always want to go in to get to where we're doing. So that is an instant connection through her, quantum entanglement wise. But insofar as like what was going on during the previous eclipse, leading up to it, about a month ahead of time, she started talking to me about zombies. And I'm like, huh? And what I later figured out is like she wasn't telling me that zombies were going to happen. But shortly after she told me that, people started talking about zombies. They're like, oh, well, they put something into something, and then they're going to do this big emergency alert test, and that's going to activate the something, and then people are going to lose their minds and go nuts. So she was like precognitively telling me what people were going to be talking about. Not saying that that is what's going to... So that's where it becomes very difficult when it comes to what she's showing you. Is like, is she telling you something that is definitely going to be happening, or is she telling you what people within the collective consciousness are going to be talking about? And that plays at least 50% of the role when it comes to this eclipse tomorrow. Once it gets into the collective consciousness, it spreads very, very quickly. Well, how is everybody controlled? We watched several Codex movies this weekend, and they were mainly being picked by my son because she finds him easier to implant ideas into. Like, he'll just randomly pick stuff, like Free Guy was one of them. So if he's over here and she wants me to review something that's in the Codex, like, he'll just suddenly decide, he wants to watch something. But in this case, it wasn't him, it was me. And the first one was one of the biggest Archon movies. This was like The Matrix before The Matrix. It was way ahead of its time. And there's even stuff directly referring to The Matrix. And this was 12 years before The Matrix even came out. It was even before the Red Pill movie before The Matrix, which was Total Recall, came out. And that movie is called They Live by John Carpenter. That is like one of the biggest slap you in the face with the truth movies like ever made. Like, everything is in there. Like, I've seen most of this stuff. And it has to do with humanity being collectively kind of like put in a trance by these other beings. And it's if you don't know the movie, it's the one with this infamous scene right here.
What's your problem?
So one of the things that stood out about it to me was, and I'd totally forgotten this, but at a later part, you've got them, they're in the underground bases, and the bad guys are talking to the human power elite, and they specifically say, you know, well, I'll forget exactly how he said it, so I'll just show you.
Our projections show that by the year 2025, not only America, but the entire planet will be under the protection and the dominion of this power alliance. The gains have been substantial, both for ourselves and for you, the human power elite.
So a movie like in 1988, it was either 86 or 88, I want to say it was 88, was saying that by the year 2025, they will have control of everything. That's that's nuts when you look at what's going on right now. But the whole thing is like everybody is controlled. Well, the Codex movies do show you a lot of truth, but at the same time, the flip side of that is they use them to basically put stories and ideas into people's heads within the collective consciousness. One of the things when we're doing the introduction energy work with people, and after we do the whole thing with the Holy Grail and dumping the traumas and all that stuff, and we take you into meet the Divine Mother, we actually visualize taking a piece of our own spark and giving it back to her and dropping it in the wellspring to help heal her. And the reason being is like she is this web, and this web is contaminated by this other stuff that is constantly putting things in people's heads. That's the issue. That's all around you. Like you don't even have to put on a tinfoil hat to see that kind of stuff. That's like basically how everything works. It's how advertising works. Like if you haven't watched that movie before, you need to watch it. Put it that way. It is like ridiculous. And there are things like those glasses out there. That's a whole nother discussion. Either which way, there are a couple of different places in which this branches out. First of all, it's like we need to decide where we're going with this. So we can either choose to be sucked into the contamination of the web of the story and focus on doom and gloom, and hell, maybe this is one of those big, forks in the road where you go one way in the story or you go another way in the story. That's very possible. In which case, we don't want to go into a collective consciousness event. In the solar eclipse, if anything, it's a collective consciousness event because it's something that a great number of people are all going to be focused on at the same time. So you don't want to go into a collective consciousness event with a story of fear. You want to go into it with an expectation of, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's leading toward the end of this stupid game that I'm in a good way, like in a free guy way, like getting to the good place that Christ spoke about in the Nag Hammadi. It's like it's all around you, you just can't see it. That's what we're trying to find. So we going with what she has always taught me about think like a computer. It would be a good time for people to, on an individual basis, kind of write their own, let's say, antivirus program that they contribute to this event when everybody is focused on it. Why everyone is like foreboding or things like that. You want to inject, love, compassion, expectation, light. Because, the darkness covers the sun, but then the light returns. So it's almost like, what kind of intention do we want to put into this event in that period that it comes closest to you for when the light returns? Now, this is all coming to me very, very quickly. But yeah, I see what the system, what the world wants me to think about. And then I see what she wants me to think about. And then all this energy today, all this upbeat energy today, all this music she's playing and stuff like that, it's just, it stands out a lot. It stands out a whole bunch. Check my time here. I want to keep this going pretty quick today. But here is the other thing that she wanted me to tell you about. This is like this is a if the shoe fits thing. And understand that there is absolutely no judgment here. But I'm going to tell it to you straight. I've dealing with her for several years, and the results that I've seen in doing the energy work with other people. This can affect a woman or it can affect a man, but it's probably going to affect women more. And again, like I said before, it is an easy fix. You can do it by yourself, but if you don't think you can do it by yourself, we can facilitate it. So when we were doing the energy work that she started us doing a year ago, which, you know, that might take 30 minutes or more to go through it all, because we got to clear the chakras, we got to clear all the stuff. We go into, you know, I'm narrating what she's showing me, and we're focused on it at the same time, so that you can see what I see. And then she walks you through surrendering all your traumas and all the other dark stuff to Lumen or Epinoia or Sophia or Divine Mother, however you want to put it. Usually it's Lumen. Lumen's the one that assists me. And then we go in to this other room. When you walk through this path, it's kind of like a jungle, and it opens into this clearing. And then there's this big like rock. It's like twilight. It's either early in the morning or twilight. I can never tell which. All I know is, like, you know, Venus is overhead. And there's this big outcropping of rocks with this this pool. It's like a spring. It's the wellspring. It's the wellspring of life. And there you will either see or sense the Divine Mother. And then what we do is, like I said, we walk through, like, taking a little, like before we took the black balls out to surrender the trauma. This time we take like a little glowing golden marble-sized ball. It's like just a little piece of your light, and we give it back to the mother by dropping it in her wellspring. And that is to help heal her. That is to help clear the collective that we were talking about earlier. But what I discovered when we were doing this was there were a certain percentage of women that they got half of the results. So everybody stopped hearing the adversary voice in their head. Like that, everybody had that. But a certain percentage of women were telling me that they were still not feeling a connection to her, like everyone else was describing. And I couldn't figure that out. So I asked her, what is it? And then she showed me. And when she showed me, I was like, oh, okay. And then I went back individually and talked to every person that told me they were still having a problem, like connecting to the Divine Mother. And I asked them this one question: have you ever had an abortion? And every single one of them said yes. And every single one of them still felt bad about it. Now, when I say no judgment, they talk you into this when you're still operating completely in ego mind. Your soul spark isn't even awakened yet. So this is all taking place, you know, during the ego mind years, but it sticks with you. Whether you think it was for the best or whether you think whatever, it sticks with you. And I don't honestly give a flying rat's ass about anybody's political beliefs. I'm going by what she says, what she tells me. You're messing with life. You're messing with her. So everybody admitted to it. Everybody said it still bothered them. Everyone said they still regretted it on some level. And in you being the actual physical lower embodiment of a Divine Mother, that's what's throwing you off. So what she told me is to go to do the session with them again, and then I walk them through the visualization and going back to where the Divine Mother was, and then I would say, and she would make me do this, even though they don't need to speak it out loud. I would disconnect. I would take my headphones off, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave you here for a minute. And all she wanted was for you to understand and say, I'm sorry. Just understand that, yeah, you were misled. Yeah, you were manipulated. They told you it was no big deal. There's all sorts of stuff that they throw in your face about that, because one side wants it and one side doesn't. But the fact of the matter is, every one of those people couldn't feel her, couldn't connect to her until they did this. So they visualized her. I completely left the room, so to speak. I said I'd be back in a couple minutes. And they just spoke to her from the heart and just said that they were sorry. And that's all she wants to hear. And she's like, we're good. You're forgiven. And then we went through and reconnected everything again, and then everybody could feel her. So if that's you, and you're struggling with that connection, or you're finding it harder to get rid of other traumas or other issues or things that are just sticking, and that's happened with you, that is probably what's holding you back. But it is not like some infinite sentence. All she wants you to do is understand and say you're sorry, because she knows that you are not, if you were just operating as the ego mind, that's different from acting as the true soul self mind. But the soul self mind is still going to have to deal with what the ego mind has done. And that one particular thing just threw every single person that did it had an issue with connecting to her. Everybody that didn't do it had no issue with connecting to her. Everybody that did it, once they went back in and spoke to the Divine Mother directly and said they were sorry and meant it, she flips the light switch back on. I had to do it too, and it wasn't even me or my situation. I just helped a friend out once with money that was in the situation. So it wasn't as severe, obviously, but I still kind of had a bit of a slap on the wrist, and I had to do it too, because I contributed to it, even though it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't mine. It was just a friend. It was a friend that needed money, and I'm like, I'll help you out. But I had to do it too. I had to do the mea culpa too. So I'm telling you this because a lot of people just don't realize what a big deal that is to her. And if you're actually trying to connect to her more, and nobody's told you this, and you're still struggling, well, now we're telling you. Now we're telling you that blocks your connection to the Divine Mother. And that's what the other side wants. So they want to shove it in everybody's face. That's one of those things that will spark things up. How dare you? You know, hey, I side with her. That's what she told me. And the energy work that we did with people, to me, is all the proof that I need. Before it didn't work, they did that, and then it did. I would have never thought about it unless I was doing that kind of work, and I'm like, hey, why are these certain people not connecting to you? And then she told me. So take it up with her if you have a problem with it. But we're doing it because we want people to, I would even say, like, I haven't had this situation before, but let's say you're a guy and you were in the military, like you were a jarhead or an army grunt. Yeah, I know, I'm a squid. And you had to take somebody's life in war. I would say the same thing applies. Um, it has to. It has to. That's one of the things you definitely need to clear before ending the game. And especially if it took place when you were when your soul is not awakened yet and you're still operating as the ego mind, you were basically sleepwalking. So now if you were completely awake and aware, a soul person, and then you did that, well, I don't know. I don't know if you could get out of that or not. I haven't come into that situation. But life is sacred. She is life. She is freaking life. She is the force. She is the aether. She is all of that. So, I mean, I'm an outdoors guy. I don't hunt animals. Now, if you were like in a place where you had to hunt to eat, you know, I usually try to do some sort of clearing when I eat meat, just because it used to be an animal. And I kind of like when I bless my food, I kind of retroactively go back to when that animal was harvested, because, you know, the food industry is not nice. Well, just eat plants. Well, plants are living too. Okay? Everything is. There's plenty of science stuff. You know, you start chopping up a plant, it's going to scream too. When I do my outdoor stuff with, you know, starting fires or something like that, I try to get the dead wood. You know, I don't want to trigger the Lorax. It's like, hey, why are you killing living things? So if there's a good reason, if she guides you to it, if you bless it and treat it as a sacred thing, the life force that you're taking, and honor it, that's different. But life is not something that we just go around and be like, yeah, whatever, kill you, kill you, kill you. I think that's what the issue was this weekend when the kids were over here. It's just like, I'm like, my son was playing Xbox, and of course he's going around killing zombie Nazis or something like that, and it was just sucking the lumen right out of the room. Like I was basically in my room while he's playing games, and like we're as far away from it as we could possibly get. But as soon as they were gone, that's when she's like, clean the house, turn on the music, fill this place back up with lumen energy, because she's not a big fan of like video games where you're just going around slaughtering people. So do you want the truth or not? Because we give it to you straight here. We give it to you straight. We're not gonna tap dance around your feelings, because feelings will get in the way of you doing what you need to do and being where you need to be, so that you can actually break free of this freaking nightmare place that we're in. That's what we're trying to do. That's why we do this channel. So she wanted me to share that with you. And nobody should be judging anybody about anything. You shouldn't. That's not your place. Like she said, the ego minds are easily programmed. The ego minds are easily influenced. And most times this stuff happens within the ego mind. But when you wake up later, and that soul self comes to the surface, like all that stuff is going to weigh you down. And all you got to do is talk to her. And from the heart say, I'm sorry. So let's close with bringing it back around to the eclipse tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it works. But I'm going to choose to go into it with lumen on the outside, playing good music, expecting good things. Even if bad things do end up happening, it's leading to a good place. That's the way I'm choosing to look at it. And we're going to try and consciously pump. I'm going to basically hook a line from Big Mama through me, and I'm going to inject her into that collective consciousness while everybody is focusing on the same thing, and try to counteract all the fear programming, because we don't know exactly how this place works. We just think we do. It's very, very complex. But she wanted to make a point about the collective consciousness part, and how it's used, how they use that to manipulate us, But then some of the things that we think, because it is coming through her, it is coming through that network, but is it coming through her personally? Or is it coming through her network that connects all people? Is there a whole lot of people that are thinking a certain thing, and then it's coming through her network, so you think it's coming from her, but it's not really. So we need to take care of our mother too, and clear those lines and bless those lines and make sure it's as clear as possible. Okay, well, I'm out of time. I got to get going here. Hopefully that was helpful. We did put the Luminite Bliss pendants, which that's my favorite one now for connecting to Lumen personally, up on the Etsy store. There's one that's ready to go. The other one's listed. There's actually two ready to go, but the second listing is made to order. It's like, look, it's going to look pretty close to this, but this helps me conserve resources too. It means we are going to make it specifically for the individual. Okay, any questions, you can message me through the Etsy store. Just message the seller, or find me on Facebook. Okay, so other than that, Chris and Lumen, see you next time.